Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Wade Teamer. Now, today's episode, we're going to focus on HBAR. This is Hedera's new DLT platform. According to the description, it is a new private DLT platform for enterprise adoption. It's a private connection between companies and Hedera's public DLT. It will combine the best of Hedera into a private and easy to use I said easy to lose solution. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this situation because we have Blade Wallet as well as Australia Payments Plus. They are listed as the first adopters of the HBAR. But I'm curious, where else can this be applied, or who else can make use of this? There's a third name that I did not mention that was mentioned in the blog post. I'm going to save that for the end because when I did my digging, I found something very interesting. Now, before we get into this, you guys know we got to do a little housekeeping. First, a special note. I don't know if you guys watch Crypto Jeb, but I've been watching this dude for a number of years. When I first got into the space, him, BitBoy, the brothers over at Altcoin Daily. Yeah, these were the guys that I watched for inspiration. Recently, Jeb is going through a whole lot, man. And just judging by the words of his X post recently and community tab post, this seems very deep. So I'm just asking, guys, let's send some good energy to Jeb. All right, go over to his X account, bomb his posts, send good energy. Go over to his community tab on his YouTube page. Just do the same thing. All right. I got a lot of respect for this dude in a space like crypto, where it is so easy to fall victim to temptation and devilish desires. This guy keeps God first, and you can't get mad at that. Now, if you're new to the space, I got something for you. This is the DHN Blockchain Starter Kit for 2025. Whether you've been in the space 7 days or 7 years, these 3 pages will help you navigate the crypto space more effectively. It's definitely geared towards the newer crowd. Personally, you'll get links to my various social media accounts. But for everyone, I want to share with you a few things. The 5 verticals of blockchain. These 5 verticals helped me understand the enormity of everything that we see in crypto. The adoption model. It really helps me understand just the process of how these technologies get picked up and what they're used for. That's what this visual representation is for. You'll get that in this free PDF download. You also get a criteria for evaluating digital assets on blockchain. Like I said, like I tell you many times, our conversation over here is the technology behind the new financial system. Okay? Forget all the politics, forget all the tribalism. We nerds over here. But if you want to pick any asset, take these criteria, lay them on top of that, and guarantee you'll be able to make the best decision. Links to different blockchain networks, again, to familiarize yourself with the space. Links to various organizations that are the movers and shakers in the space. News and analytics sources. Everything you need to get yourself started in the crypto space. Or if you need a rebuff, let's say you've been out of the space for a minute. It's a perfect thing for you. And I want you to tack on alongside of that this ebook here, Blockmaster. It's a collection of everything that you really need to know about blockchain technology, the history behind it, kind of how we got to this point, some of the figures, stuff like that. Go to my website. Link will be in the description as well as the pinned comment so you can pick up this PDF. So now that that's out the way, let's talk HBAR. Let's talk Hedera, ladies and gentlemen. I'm never going to stop talking Hedera. I don't care what this market does to me emotionally or psychologically. I love this technology, man. And for that very reason, I'm going to keep sitting at this desk in front of this camera and giving y'all this game. So, hello, HBAR, a new standard in private networks. Guys, so let me tell you what this all boils down to. Because we have been getting a lot of pushback. The Hedera community has been getting a lot of pushback. People saying that this is just another layer 2. This all boils down to the conversation between permissioned and permissionless, or private and public blockchain networks. Ironically, blockchain's transparency is kind of the number one thing slowing its adoption. And it isn't from the perspective of companies wanting to hide anything. You're dealing with a lot of sensitive data here that, if put on a public dashboard, might cause trouble. I'll just put it that way. So what I have observed in my 6 years in the space now is there has been a strong appetite to appease that by creating hybrid networks. When Ethereum introduced the layer 2 business model to the game, that's when things began to change, because companies were then able to come to Ethereum and build on either public or private networks. These public or private networks ultimately became some of the most popular layer 2s that we are familiar with today. Networks are starting to see how impactful that is, such as Polkadot, Avalanche, XDC, and they followed suit. Polkadot with the parachains, Avalanche's subnets, XDC subnets. There are a couple other networks that practice the same thing as well, but we won't really touch on them. I don't read into them as much, so I don't want to give you an inaccurate opinion. But I do know those networks. And just based off of those networks, based off the success of the subnets and parachains, I can tell you the move that Hedera is making is groundbreaking. All right? But it ain't completely perfect. We'll get into that in a minute. They emphasize that point here that I just made. Many businesses exploring blockchain face a zero-sum game dilemma. Embrace the transparency and decentralization of public networks, or opt for the control and privacy of private permissioned networks. Again, that is a very big problem when it comes to the adoption of these technologies. The big companies, the big banks, the large institutions that people want to get involved, they don't want all of their financial data on a public dashboard. They still want it on a dashboard. They just want to be able to access it and control who accesses it. And that makes logical sense. It does, from a business standpoint, right? Because you just can't have everything out there. So I like the fact that Hedera is jumping into this game here. And if we scroll down, we'll see what exactly sets it apart. But before that, I want to run over some of the features, because HashSphere is essentially, and I want to really be accurate when I classify it as this, but it feels like a light version of Hedera, in a sense that Hedera has now found a way to mass produce its blockchain. Let me show you. Key benefits of HashSphere: regulatory compliance, governance, enterprise-grade infrastructure, interoperability, Hedera technology, EVM compatibility, low cost and rapid deployment, expert support, and services. So you're getting the entire suite of Hedera, all of its products: asset tokenization, stablecoin studio, NFT studio, CBDC studio. What else do we have here? DeFi, token service, consensus service, smart contracts. Those three build DeFi applications, gaming applications, so forth and so on. But I like this section here. Okay, now that we have an understanding of what comes with HashSphere, companies that participate in the HashSphere ecosystem or in the sphere will be able to use their own version of Hedera's public chain privately. Again, mass production of their own blockchain. It's mind-blowing. But as I hinted at earlier, it ain't perfect. It has its limitations. And I love this piece here. I shared this on X a couple hours ago too. So what sets HashSphere apart? HashSphere takes a novel approach to private DLT network solutions. Private permission network participants can face challenges such as vendor lock-in and single points of failure, while public network subnets risk vulnerabilities from anonymous node validators. And finally, layer 2 solutions are scalable, but can in some instances compromise security. Shots fired, because they're absolutely correct. We've seen stories of this in the past. I believe, if you'll look this up, a few years ago, shortly after Terra Luna, it was bridges that were causing a major problem, right? And these bridges were oftentimes built by a layer 2 solution or connecting two different layer 2 solutions. And that's where the problems came up, because them two layer 2s, there's no record of them. So who's ever running them two layer 2s were able to do whatever they wanted to do. That was a problem. It has been addressed by the industry because the layer 2s, the subnets, have gotten more secure and a lot closer to the source network, if that makes sense. Now, the second piece here, where they differentiate HashSphere specifically from subnet. Unlike a subnet on a public blockchain, a layer 2 solution, or a private permissioned network, HashSphere is a standalone private network powered by Hedera public network technology built with future interoperability in mind. So, judging by that description, again, I think Hedera has found a way to mass produce its blockchain. And if that's the case, then this is definitely groundbreaking. But is it innovative? Well, let's dig into that just a little bit here. Because like I said, XDC, not too long ago, was one of the networks that introduced subnets, right? And Hedera's HashSphere is standing on the heel of customizable blockchains for enterprise solutions. You'll notice there's a pattern here. So, XDC subnets, key features and functions, independent operations. Subnets operate as distinct blockchains, each potentially having its own rules and parameters. Customization. Each subnet can have its own unique tokenomics, governance rules, security, interoperability, scalability, cost effectiveness, so forth and so on. And you'll also notice these subnets, the subnets for XDC, they have specific features that model or mirror the features on the main network or the mother network, this case being XDC. Subnet driven by XDC 2.0 consensus, relayer programs, smart contracts on the XDC mainnet, wallet APIs for additional connectivity and security. And it brings up a company that joined the XDC ecosystem recently, and that's Plug and Play. They're plugged not only in India, but the United States as well. I find it the most interesting that Plug and Play came into the XDC network post subnet announcement. So that would indicate to me they will be one of the first to bring a subnet onto the XDC network. And if I'm not mistaken, we did cover a story a few weeks ago. Please, someone let me know down in the comments. We have an XDC subnet participant. I went to look for it here, couldn't find it. I will search again though. We also have another example, like I mentioned, Avalanche. Avalanche launched Evergreen a while back, and we ain't got to go far to find the similarities between Avalanche's Evergreen and Hedera's HashSphere. Evergreen subnets maintain the benefits of public network deployment, including interoperability, composability, while enabling particular chain-level features only possible in enterprise blockchains. Private network or public network being used in a private manner. That's essentially what this is. So, and again, like I said, Polkadot, it's parachain ecosystem. Guys, there is a fully functioning licensed sports game running on a Polkadot parachain. So the potential is massive. And I believe I made this very clear when XDC jumped into the subnet layer 2 parachain conversation last year. If they execute this effectively, the next bull cycle, people will not be able to. You won't be able to look at Hedera the same way you did in the last two cycles, because there will be so much record on chain, so much data on chain from so many different companies, right? The one thing that does differentiate it though, okay, and kudos to Ethereum for creating this layered network or mothership business model where you have the main source, which would be the main network, and you have networks that extend tributaries from the network, all feeding back to the main river, right? Hell of a business model. But credit should be given to Ethereum for establishing that. And to see Hedera following that particular trend, It's not a DPIN trend or it's not an NFT trend. This is from a technology perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, this is a building trend that the whole space is about to follow. And if they can't, you will see it. We will see it. Okay? Someone let me know about Solana's layer 2 ecosystem. Because if it's unhealthy, don't expect Solana to last much longer. And this is coming from somebody who believes in Solana's technology, who covered Solana quite a bit on the channel. But with this new information, I'm learning that this mothership business model does have disadvantages as well as advantages. So it's just something to be aware of. Now, let's get into where this can be applied and who may be applying it. One of the first names that we got was Australian Payments Plus. Now, APP has been working with Hedera for quite some time. They've been in the crypto space for quite some time, representing Australia and their fintech advancements. What the details of what Australian Payments Plus looks to do with Hedera has not quite been revealed, along with Blade Wallet and the other company I'm going to share with you. But the coolest thing about APP that I'm learning is that where other fintechs may have partnerships and, collaborators, well, APP has their own brands. Interesting, right? We got brands for digital identity, digital wallet, bill pay, new payments platform that'll probably do remittances, large value payments, stuff like that. OSCO bank, probably peer-to-peer transfer, sending and receiving money, online banking, pay ID, pay to. But it's Ethos here, EFT POS. This company here. So recently, as a matter of fact, last month, AP Plus works with Google to offer least cost routing on Google wallets. Now, okay, shout out to y'all in Australia for having to deal with this on a regular basis in the first place. So apparently, for us, when we go to use our Google Wallet, we can pick whichever debit card we want. This really isn't an issue, right? Well, see, according to my understanding, it ain't the same in Australia. So previously, multi-network debit cards loaded into Google Wallet defaulted to international card networks, but now the lower-cost domestic Eptos network will be available as a routing choice. According to a Reserve Bank of Australia report from April of 2024, the cost of accepting debit card transactions is nearly 20% lower for merchants that have LCR turned on compared with those turned off. So it's this low-cost routing that is a cost-saving feature for customers, right? So this is already giving AP Plus an advantage when it comes to bringing products to market. You can see there's a 20% reduction in cost and fees with their technology involved. So this gave me the idea, not only do they have experience working with the big names like Google, but they also have experience with implementing tools that can be picked up right away. And that's all I'm looking for going forward in this crypto space. To be quite honest, to vent for just a few seconds, I'm gonna need somebody in this blockchain space to come up with some hardware, a physical product. Put something in Walmart, in Target, Home Depot, Best Buy. The moment we get blockchain technology in a big box retailer, then the game changes. I don't know what's taking so long. I really don't. But like I said, quick vent right there, quick rant. All right, got another one coming too. And it's related to this company here, Vayana, India's most trusted trade credit infrastructure provider. What are we talking here? We're talking trade finance. Again, this is why I began to confess my concerns about XDC Network's position. Every time I do that, though, they drop something else on me. But this one here is interesting. So what they do, they specialize in supply chain financing. And essentially what that means is financial transactions related to the supply chain. So From our knowledge of trade finance, we learn that in a usual transaction, what typically happens is if you're a supplier and you want to get a product from a producer, you're oftentimes paying upfront plus fees and interest for that product before you even see it. Okay? Problem is, a lot of them producers will take that payment and not do any producing. That's just one of many problems. But it's in that moment where supply chain financing comes into play. Because as it stands right now, everything is paper-based. There's not really a lot of electronic solutions for supply chain financing. And then, of course, you have to deal with the banks that have already been here for 40 to 50 years that may have some sort of control over certain regions and don't want to let everybody's money in, things like that. That is the jewel behind blockchain getting involved in the world of trade finance and the supply chain. So when I saw this company here, and then back in May of last year, Hashgraph Associations, Hilo Biz, a Vanyana subsidiary, launched a debt-based financial product on Hedera's DLT network. What exactly does this entail? It says here there will be leveraging Hedera's decentralized ledger and Hilo Biz software as a service to enable easier access to affordable financing for small and medium-sized businesses globally. So, because we don't really have that many details, the best we have to do is speculate. Speculate on what could exactly manifest out of HashSphere with players like Vanyana, Blade, and AP Plus being the first to get involved. I'm going to go ahead and assume in a minute we will see a private network in the supply chain industry that is built on Hedera technology. And here's the crazy part, right? They don't have to call it Hedera anything. It can be called the Vanyana chain, right? Or the Hilo chain. We gonna have to do some real digging to know that the underlying infrastructure is Hedera. To that point, guys, let me make sure I hit everything I wanted to share with you here. Yes, two more things I want to share with you. One, let's pull up the blockchain starter, hop over to the adoption model, because this is a perfect example we can plug and play right here, right? Shout out to XDC. In this situation, HashSphere would be your third-party technical provider. Obviously, Hashgraph would be the formal name of the third-party tech provider, but the tech in this case is HashSphere. The independent organization alongside of that, that's Australia Payments Plus. The financial service provider. In this situation, I approached it from a theoretical, hypothetical aspect, and I looked up the top fintechs in Australia. Number one name that popped up was Afterpay. So I plugged Afterpay in here, assuming that at some point in the future, these three entities will combine to create a completed blockchain application, and the underlying network will be Hedera. That's just how it works. So now that we have that deeper understanding, let me lay a bit of theory on you. With everything that Donald Trump is doing with these tariffs, what if this somehow creates an opportunity or a doorway for advanced blockchain technologies in the world of trade finance, supply chain technologies, and things of that nature? Now, I don't want to turn this into a political discussion, not at all, because I'm still not 100% sure on how I feel about this orange man. Excuse me. But it does raise the question, if the goal is to bring everything back to the United States and get back our respect on a global stage when it comes to the importing and exporting of our goods, according to his story, we're getting ripped off on a global scale. All of them conditions, all of them problems would create a desire for a solution. And we're looking at platforms that have the ability to not only verify, but track and trace and secure and speed up a lot of these processes. So what I'm getting at here is the pressure from tariffs and the reactions that follow may create a bed of technological innovations that get around it. It has happened before. All right, just something I'm thinking about, guys. Completely, probably nothing to it, but nonetheless, HashSphere, Hedera, the hash graph era, it has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, and I like what I see. And like I said, I'm always going to be here for the tech. I ain't tripping about nothing else. Okay? I'm really not. So before we get out of here, guys, let me remind you, whether you're new to the space, whether you've been here for years, you want to refresh yourself on the fundamental technological advances that this blockchain offers, download Blockmaster. Link to that will be in the description as well as the pinned comment. And like I mentioned last week, a few days ago, DHN itself is expanding. So there will be links to other channels, other content that I have been producing over the last few years. If you're interested in that, go ahead, check it out. Okay, talking college football, talking film, whatever you may be interested in, got it right there for you. With that, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.